may be the UK's second largest city, but Birmingham is coming in first place, with many investors looking to expand their property portfolio. Eclipsed only by London with its number of Michelin-starred restaurants, the city is keeping it real at the other end of the spectrum with delicious street food and cool markets in trendy Digbeth. The jewellery quarter is sparkling and thriving, and many of the country's brightest creatives have flocked to the city to make it their home. So whether to visit or stay, work or play, Birmingham should certainly be on your hit list by order of the Peaky Blinders. Today for APW TV, I'm here to chat to Joe Billingham, Chairman and Founder of Prosperity Developments. Now, these guys are certainly not new kids on the block, having perfected the art of combining people's passion for property with their desire for great investment and delivering both of those to a global audience from their HQ here in Birmingham. So what better place to chat to Joe than from here, one of their most prestigious developments, Seven House in B1. Hi Joe, how are you doing?
Okay, I'm well, thank you.
So Joe, before we delve under the skin of Birmingham itself, just tell me a little bit about you and your background, because I believe you've had property in your blood since you're about 18, haven't you?
Yeah, started buying property when I was 18, built up a small portfolio. Some of those were rented and some of those were refurbished and then resold. And then I started doing a lot of work with deceased estates, so probate work. There was only so many of those that I could buy, so ultimately started passing them on to clients, or they became clients. Some of them are with us still today, so providing them with property investments. And as my career grew, started doing development, and then we are where we are today. Yeah,
which is a fantastic place. It really is. And here in Birmingham then, let's talk about the city, because I know obviously it brought us the Peaky Blinders soon, the 2022 Commonwealth Games, which are the first multi-sport event since the pandemic, which is fantastic. And there is Tom Cruise's studio development, so it's very rock and roll. What's the buzz about Birmingham then? Why is it the place to be?
Well, I think Birmingham's in a sweet spot at the moment. A lot of employment. A lot of migration from big employers from London to Birmingham. We've got a new connection around the city through the Metrolink system. HS2, which is obviously a key driver for the economy. So that'll be London in 1 hour, 20 minutes.
I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? I mean, talking about that then, Birmingham really is going to be a real transport hub connecting the north and south. And with that reduced commute time to London, what impact do you think that's going to have on employment and investment here?
Yeah, sure. So part of the city's 5-point plan was to bring employment. So we've now got HSBC, KPMG, Deutsche Bank, very recently Goldman Sachs. So big employers have come on the back of the promised Grade A office space that Birmingham's now delivered. Yeah. We're now in the housing phase, so we're now delivering the houses again that were delivered, that were promised to the employers. So I mean, just as our own business, we're seeing a lot of migration. So some of the candidates that are either coming for jobs at Prosperity or working at Prosperity have come from London and migrated for a better lifestyle, but certainly sort of a more cost-effective lifestyle.
I suppose there's never been a better time then to attract overseas and domestic development.
There's a lot of investment in the city, and a lot of the PRS funds, so the big institutional funds, are coming in to acquire property here. But we're still in the sweet spot, so prices are still relatively modest. We've seen some growth, but there's still some to come. We're still achieving relatively strong yields. So a kind of a £400 per square foot is if you look at kind of where we sit compared to Manchester, Liverpool, and particularly London, that's good value. We can still achieve a 6% yield. So those two things combined makes Birmingham pretty unique from an investor perspective.
Yeah, completely. So talking about universities, I mean, I remember back in the day looking at Birmingham, and there are about 5 universities around here. And I assume now a lot of graduates are actually choosing to stay in the city moving forward. So again, that throws open a whole host of opportunities.
Yeah, so that's only, again, kind of, more people to house. but certainly Birmingham currently has got the highest retention rate in the UK. So students that come to work, to study at one of our 5 universities will live and stay, in the city long term.
Yeah. So here, talking about where we are today, Seven House, fantastic development. I know this was recently completed, but actually pretty much pre-sold quite quickly. Is that right? Yeah.
So our typical business model is to offer investors and owner-occupiers the opportunity to buy off-plan, and typically that's done 2 years in advance of delivery. So this building is a 30-unit scheme. Some of it's owner-occupier based, some of it's investor, but ultimately sold 2 years ago. Obviously at the price point 2 years ago. Now delivered to clients that one have seen some good appreciation, and they've rented really well. So typically our investor clients move with us to our management business that then will rent the property for them. But yeah, we've big demand for rental property.
Yeah, I bet. And I know this is sort of one of your higher end developments, but you've got developments that sort of tick boxes in all areas, haven't you?
Yeah, so my vision for Prosperity was to kind of try and offer different levels of property for different sort of investors really. So we do a lot of PDR. So PDR is conversion of offices into residential, and they'll be outside the city. So we're currently doing handovers in Birkenhead down to Southend, so quite a spread in location. We concentrate on that's a lower price point, higher yielding, but ultimately a different type of product. At the city centre, we are very much luxury apartments, and then we also have housing. So we launched last year our first major housing site, which is 300 units in Norfolk.
Wow.
So yeah, we try and sort of different price points that produce ultimately different yields. They're in different locations, all of which have got a driver, which would be a strong employment base, areas where we feel there's still appreciation to be had, and all of which would produce a decent yield, obviously for income.
Yeah, so bringing it back round to Birmingham now, just to round off really. So what would you say to people that are thinking of increasing their property portfolio by investing in Birmingham, or indeed those people that may want to start one? Why should they get on with it now as soon as possible?
Well, certainly it's something that they should consider. I think Birmingham, as I say, is in that sweet spot. I think prices have got some way to go. We've seen some appreciation. I think the HS2 effect has kind of probably been taking place now. From a capital appreciation perspective. But really the city's becoming a lot better connected, so we've got a metro system now that leads you from the new Grand Central Station across the city. As I say, we've got the new commercial districts. Digbeth is only really just getting going. And as you mentioned, Tom Cruise is one of the investors in a big scheme down there.
Well, if it's good enough for Tom, eh?
Sure. Well, Stephen Knight's got a large studio down there. So I think that again is becoming a kind of a hub for probably the sort of more incubator businesses, tech, media. So the kind of the younger kind of sort of industries are sort of based themselves around Digbeth. So good times. Fantastic.
Yeah. So if people want to get involved in those good times, then they need to get moving quickly, don't they? Because I suppose prices are only on the way up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's supply and demand supply is limited in Birmingham. I think there are fewer developers in Birmingham than in London and Manchester, for example. So less developments. We've also got, as I say, the institutional funds coming into Birmingham that are buying blocks in their entirety. So those never come to the market. So yeah, the actual opportunity for units to buy is remained relatively low.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for having a chat. Well, Seven House is obviously completed and all sold, but time now to go and visit JQ Rise, which is a development literally arising from the ground as we speak. So we thought we'd round off today here in the Jewellery Quarter with JQ Rise behind me, one of Prosperity Development's latest projects under construction. Now this is only a stone's throw away from the financial district, so it will be a perfect investment for young professionals. With prices starting from $200,000 in B1, this city centre development takes advantage of great transport links in this rapidly expanding city. Well, here we are in the thick of all the action, Joe, at one of the current sites under construction here, JQ Rise. So how long have the guys been working on this for?
We're just on site here, so we're currently piling for foundations and then we'll be moving forward to drainage before we then start building up the substructures.
So at this stage now, how long's work been going on for in terms of
3
months?
weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks. Oh, they're pretty quick then.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of site clearance, but actual work on site's 3 weeks now.
Yeah, and how long will it be
pretty good.
until the development's completed?
It's around 20 months.
Okay.
So it's a 24-storey tower, 226 apartments.
So at this stage now, 226 apartments, how many of those have been sold off plan already?
There's currently 85% are sold.
Wow.
And then we're now off market with the balance going out to the open market for owner occupiers.
Okay, gosh, they go pretty quickly then, don't they?
It was one of our really successful sites, this was, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of price-wise, when this is completed, what's the sort of range this is going to be?
One beds are around 250, two beds are 300, and then there's a couple of 3 beds which are kind of going into the 450 mark.
Okay, so people really need to get in quite early with these developments, don't they, if so much is going off plan so quickly?
The market's currently trading off plan, so yeah, the vast majority of property gets sold, well before we're on site.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. And then after this one, have you got any other things in the pipeline you can tell us about? Any little previews?
We're on to Park View from here. We'll be down in Southside and then on to Smithfield.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Right, well, we best not hold up work anymore because I'm sure they're all gathering in the background so they can be in shot. So we'll let them get onto it. Well, I hope that's given you a good insight into property investment opportunities here in Birmingham with the Prosperity Developments. For any more information, just contact Joe and the team.